Welcome to Beyond the Game, episode number 31. Where in this podcast, I'm going to be going over some great things like the best place to find value on cards. I'm going to be answering some amazing questions you guys asked, be giving you guys some examples on an iPad I have here next to me, and everything in between. If you don't know who I am, hi, my name is Eric Michael. I've sold over $5 million in sports cards up to this date. I've been doing this stuff for the past 10 years, and 4 years ago, I started to teach people how to make money with sports cards. I've been very fortunate where I've been able to help a lot of people make an extra income with sports cards, and I do truly think it is the easiest, most predictable, most fun way to make an income. But let's get into it. So I'm going to start with some Q&As here. Got a bunch of questions from you guys. So Jason Dines said, this is a broad question. What do you do when you get cards graded? Well, I sell them. That's the best answer. But this is where people get tripped up. So I'm gonna hop over to this iPad here, and I'll show you guys something really cool. So what do you do when you get cards graded? So I'm assuming you're basically asking me, how do I sell my cards? Like, when do I sell my cards? What's the best way to sell my cards? I'm assuming that's what you're asking me. And check this out, right? Let's say, right, you buy a card for $100, right? And it gets a 10, right? And now it's worth $300, right? Sorry for the sloppy handwriting. Now, you have two options, right? Sell it or hold it. Now, what every single person who I've ever done sports cards with, what they try to do is they try to sell for $300, okay? And the reality of cards is everybody wants a deal. When you sell a card to somebody, everybody wants a deal. And by doing it this way that you're looking at right here, it might take you 1 to 2 months to sell this card, right? But what if you decided to sell this card for $270 instead? It would take you 1 day to sell this card. And if you think about it, right, if you want to make as much money as possible, you could either get $300 in 1 to 2 months, or you can get $270 today. And guess what? You could take this money, this $270, and repeat that process before you ever sell this card for $300, right? Hopefully, that makes sense. So the answer to what you're trying to say, I think, is, I sell these cards. That's the first thing. And the second thing is sell it for a reasonable price, because you're actually costing yourself money by holding cards. Hopefully that makes sense. And I'll go more into detail on this later on in the podcast, because I know there's some other questions revolving around this. Sports card videos said, can AI find cards? I haven't seen it. It probably could. I haven't seen it. I haven't tried it, but I don't see why AI can't look at the corners, centering, edges, all that stuff, just like a human could. You know, it's never going to be perfect, I'm sure, just like, you know, when I do it, it's not perfect for sure. And when anyone does it, it's not perfect. So can AI find cards? I'm sure AI could find cards. I haven't seen it yet. I'm sure someone is trying to develop something as we speak. But if you see anything, let me know. Cherry Picker Cards said, oh boy, it's all about predicting a player's performance. You got to actually know the game of basketball so you can predict who's going to have a great year. Cherry Picker Cards. Let me tell you why that is the most wrong statement I've seen in a long time. All right. So I'm going to share my screen here and check this out. Let me tell you why what you just said is wrong. So if you go to Market Movers right here and you go to a Silver Prism Stroud, for example, right? I want to show you something. So a Silver Prism Stroud, if you look at this card in the past 90 days, right, you can see this card sells for like $585 today. And if you go back to the beginning of the football season, this card was selling for like $900, even $1,000, right? And it goes all the way down to $560. So as you can see, it's down in the past 90 days, 40%, right? You see next to that where it says $585. Why would CJ Stroud's cards be down 40% if he's having a good year. He's having a pretty good year, right? The Texans are, I'm not sure what their record is, 5-2 or something, 4-1, something like that, or 6-1. But the reason is because the way it works, right? If you go, let's go back here. All right, if you go to here and you look at in the beginning of the season, right? This stuff, or the past 90 days. So, right, this is the beginning of the season, right? You can see it jumps up. There's a lot of excitement and hype right around here, and his value is inflated. This card should actually probably be worth $600-700, but because of excitement, which increases demand, which increases hype, which means prices go up, it's worth, as you can see, $900. And CJ Stroud is having a good year, not an MVP year, an exceptional year. And when CJ Stroud plays to his performance, right, regression of the mean, and whoop, it goes down to what it's supposed to be worth in the first place. So a lot of the times, even when a player plays well, cards still go down in value, right? And if you want to see the worst of this, so I'll show you the worst of this. So like, let's take like Anthony Richardson, for example. He just did something really stupid, right? he sat himself out. That wasn't the smartest thing. I've never seen that before. Look at this is what happens with most young guys. So most young guys don't perform up to expectation. It's just how sports works, right? Like Anthony Richardson. So check this out, right? This card is worth like $500, right? Right when the season starts, 540, 530, and the last sale did $150. How crazy is that? The reason is because not only was Anthony Richardson hyped right around here, his value's inflated. And when something's inflated, just like the 2008 housing crisis, when all those houses were inflated in value, what happens when things go bad? Well, things don't just go bad, they go terribly bad. And beep, think about all the people that bought Anthony Richardson. And this happens every single year. I'm just showing you a football example because football is recent. The basketball season just started. I don't have any basketball examples, but this will happen in basketball. I could virtually guarantee it. Like if I could bet against Victor Wembanyama or bet against him, yes, his value, I would. And actually, that's something I want to go into because someone actually gave me a great idea, which is like the question I'm going to get to next. This actually has me excited. So do cards that tank in value ever come back to its value? Generally, just to give you a general answer, this is a question from Relic Cred Hobby Hoops. No, not really. When cards go down in value, especially like this Anthony Richardson, even if Anthony Richardson plays really well the rest of the year, which I doubt he's gonna, but let's say he does, I would be shocked if this card came back up to like $300. And you can see what this card was worth here, right? Like 500. So I doubt it. It rarely ever happens. So when stuff tanks, it tanks for good. And the reason it tanks, or the reason I'm saying it's not going to come back up in value, is because Anthony Richardson was selling for this much right here because he was hyped. Even if Anthony Richardson starts to play really well, the hype has kind of died. People have moved on from him. And because of that, it's going to be really hard for it to go back up to this value. So to generally answer your question, no. Just to keep it very broad. But of course, there's been guys that have tanked and come back up to value, and even more. Like I think one example, I could be wrong here. Let's look real quick. I think one example of a guy that tanked was Mr. Aaron Judge. He went up, then tanked, then came back up, I believe. Let's look. I think I'm right here. Let's look at his like Bowman Chrome PSA 10. You know what? I don't think I could. Yeah, so you could see this card. Can I see all data on here? I don't know if I can see all data on here. But this card, so like way back, it kind of like it was worth a lot. Then it tanked. Like right here, it tanked. And then actually it came back up again this year. This usually doesn't happen. Like Aaron Judge was like not worth. Like Aaron Judge is funny. He like, no one thought much of him when he first came up. I remember his Bowman Chrome like base PSA 10s were like $60, $70, and they jumped all the way up to like $1,000 within like 3 months. But no one expected him to be as great as he was. In his rookie year, I think he hit 50 bombs. It shot all the way up. Then he played okay. The next year or two, shot down, and then like back up, back down, and then all the way back up like you see on the screen right now. So Aaron Judge is an example of someone that kind of tanked and went back up in value, but it usually doesn't happen, just generally speaking, especially because most guys that play bad don't play excellent again. So to answer your question, no. Okay, so this is one of the best things I've ever seen. So you may have seen me say in the past that I would love to short cards. What shorting a card means is you're betting against the player going up in value. So, right, what people do is they'll buy a card for $100 of like Wembanyama and think it's going to go up in value, and they'll hold it. But I would love a way to short cards or where I make money if Wembanyama goes down, right? It's called options trading in the world of stocks. And this guy, Brian JP80, gave me a great idea. So check this out. Brian says if you short a card, borrow it from someone else. If you want to short a card, borrow from someone else, sell it, buy the card back once it's dropped in value, keep the difference, and return the card back to the person. Let's check this out. Let's say we have, let's turn this on real quick. So let's say we have a Wemby Silver PSA 10 Prism. I want you guys to check this concept out. I'm gonna give this a try here with a friend. So what I'll do, and this card is worth $800 today, just about. So step number one, I'm gonna borrow it. Okay, I'm gonna borrow it from someone and say, hey, I'll give you 10% on your money in 3 months. So basically what I'm saying to someone is I'm going to give you the card back plus $80 in 3 months, guaranteed. So in 3 months from now, actually, I'm not going to write this down. But you guys get it. In 3 months from now, I'm going to say to this person, I'm going to give you a Wemby Silver Prism PSA 10 back plus $80, okay? So Brian is saying, so that's the first thing I do. Now, I have this Wembanyama in my possession. The next thing I'm going to do is sell it for hopefully around $800. Now, I have $800 cash sitting in my pocket. Now, hopefully, the hope is this card drops, all right, down to, let's say, 500 in 3 months. Who knows? But this is just me being optimistic. So now what I do, step number 4, buy card for $500, right? And return card, and this is 3 months later, return card, or I could buy the card whenever I like, whenever it drops back down in value. Whenever it drops in value within the 3 months, you could pick. But return card plus, right, $80 in 3 months. So my profit, right, my profit equals, well, the $800 I sold it for, minus the $500 I had to buy it back for, minus the $80 I had to give. So my profit in this just made up situation is $220. This is how to short a card. This is interesting stuff. So I'm very tempted to try and do this. You know, the only thing is I'm not going to, you need to let the person know that this exact Wemby Silver you're borrowing is not going to be the same one you're going to be giving back in 3 months, because some do look slightly different. You can't do this with rare cards, because if it was like a rare Wembanyama orange something, the problem is when it drops when it drops in value, if it does to $500 or $5,000, or if it's rare, it's going to be more expensive, you may not be able to find it for that. But like a Wemby Silver, they sell all day, whether they're going to be at $400 or $800 or $1,000. And this would be great for a Wemby investor, because let's say they have no plans on selling any Wemby Silvers in the next 3 months, whether it goes up, down, left, or right, and they're into it for the long haul. Well, hey, the car's just going to sit in my closet. I might as well make 10% on my money and get $80 extra in a few months. Not a bad concept, right? Brian JP80, that is genius, and I'm probably going to try that. Thank you for that. So Jaro916 says, with the cost of grading, it's hard to make money. If you buy thinking getting a 10 and it comes back a 9, do you if you buy thinking it's going to get a 10 and it comes back a 9, do you mostly get 10s because you know what to look for and have great technology to see the stuff we can't see under a magnifying glass? So no, like even me, man, like getting cards graded, it's just an educated guess. Like if I had I get like 60 to 70% of the cards I buy to grade a 10. So like, once again, I go back to the notepad here, right? Basically the way this works is, I do things a little bit differently now. Like I buy like very high-end cards and I take big swings. But like, for example, my students, this is basically the way sports cards works in a nutshell, and like why you can make money. So like, let's say, let's say you buy a card for $100. The grading cost, right, is going to be about $20. Oh, that is supposed to say 20, not, I don't know why it looks like 120. $20, right? And where people get tripped up in sports cards is what they'll do is they'll buy a card for $100, spend $20 to get it graded, but a PSA 10 is like 170. How are you supposed to make money, right? Because after fees, this 170 is going to end up being like 145 or something, right? So you can't make money doing this, right? This is a bad strategy and just bad in general. What you want to do, and like what I tell every single one of my students, and this is like in my video modules, it's in my course, it's in everything, is you want to buy something where after fees and after everything, you're going to at least double your money. And that's not counting, hopefully the card's going to appreciate and hopefully you're buying the card at the right time. So, for example, in this situation, if you're buying a card for $100 and the grading cost is 120, that means your total investment, right, is 120. Hopefully you guys can do that math. And you want to make sure a PSA 10, you're going to be able to net $240 after fees. So after fees, right, you want to make sure, or before fees, you want to make sure a PSA 10 in this situation can be at least 270, right? Assume you're not going to sell it for the full 270. Assume a 10% fee, or you're going to give someone a 10% discount. This is the way to do it, right? And in this scenario, what happens is a PSA 10 is, right, 270, and after fees, so if it gets a PSA 10, right, we can just break this down like this, right? PSA 10, you're going to profit about, I don't know, 120. And a PSA 9, you're probably, so let's call it conservative, you'll probably lose about $20, right? You'll probably have to sell it for around 100 and you spent $20 to get it graded, so you're going to lose about $20. But, if 60% of the time, right, you're making $120, right, plus 120, and 40% of the time you are losing $20. Well, this is a game you want to play, right? Would you play this game right now? I'm making it sound easier said than done, right? You have to be buying cards at the right time, know how to negotiate, know how to properly evaluate the condition of cards. So, I'm making it sound as easy as possible, but once you get good at this game, this is the game in a nutshell. And, I'm being conservative. I have students that grade 80% of the cards as PSA 10s. To be honest, I don't know how the hell they do that because I'm the one that taught them and I don't even do that. But I've seen it. But even if you suck and 40% of the cards grade a PSA 10, well, you're probably still going to make some decent money. And just to simply put it, right, there's 4 pieces of criteria when you're buying and selling cards, right? There's the corners, and there's the edges, and there's the centering, which is probably the most important, and then there's the corner, and then the surface, excuse me. All right? So these are the 4 pieces of criteria when it comes to grading cards. And once you get good at evaluating these 4, right, then it just becomes a game of, okay, this is the game right here, right? It's just a math game. It's just a numbers game. Like, that's what business is, right? Major League profits, like, we have 30-something employees. We spend, 6 figures on ads every single month, and we got very good at marketing and helping people and getting referrals. So at the end of the day, it's just the numbers game. We put money into Facebook ads, we put money into our employees, and then people give us more money out of it, right? So once you get good at business, you should be essentially printing money is what they say. But, it takes skills like what I'm putting right here, like the corners, the edges, the centering, the surface, all this stuff. It takes these skills to, get good at it, obviously. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's see. GT says, where is the best place to get value of a card? I hate eBay. And at the moment, most of my cards are raw. Also, do you use data sheets or spreadsheets to keep inventory of cards? I've wasted a lot of time trying to make spreadsheets, and I'm no outer guy. I don't know what that means. But GT, so to go back to your question, so you should be, if a lot of these cards are raw, so if you have cards that are raw, so let's go, I like this iPad. This is good. I didn't think I would like this much. But so if you have, this is what I tell everyone, right? So if you have cards already, great. If you have cards already in your inventory, right? You already bought them, got them from cases, whatever, and you want to get them graded, right? You want, same concept like I just said, you want to at least double your money. So because you already have cards, right? You already have them. The cost of these cards is $0, right? And let's say grading is going to cost you $20, okay? You want to at least make sure, if you're going to send in a card for grading that you already have in your possession, that a PSA 10 is going to be at least worth $40. You're going to get at least $40 after fees. So realistically, you're going to need this PSA 10 to be worth at least like $50. So if you already have cards on you, you want to make sure, and you're thinking about, should I get them graded? Should I not? You want to make sure at least it's going to be worth $50 as a PSA 10. That's what I tell people. Because after fees, you'll be able to sell for $40, and you're doubling your money, right? $20, and then you're able to sell get $40 out of it. You're doubling your money. But obviously, you want to, going back to what I just put here, right? You want to make sure the card is in good condition, right? If it's like 1980s bullshit baseball you have, well, then it's probably not going to grade well, right? So that's what I would say. And do I use spreadsheets? Yeah. So I do use spreadsheets. So like, what I would say is you want to keep a Google sheet. I can't pull this up on the iPad, but you want to keep a sheet and some things. So like what I would put on the sheet is like date of purchase, right? And then I would put the card, and then I would put the platform you paid, all right? And then I would put next to the platform how much you paid for it, right? And then I'd put next to that grading cost. This is what I do. Grading cost. And then next to that, I would put what'd you sell it for? What'd you sell for? And then next to that, this is a secret hack, and I'm giving you guys this hack because I like you guys who are watching this. What I would do is who you sold it to. And I would actually put up here somewhere who you bought it from and attach a link to their eBay store or to their Instagram or to Facebook or phone number or whatever, because you can go back into this spreadsheet and just look, oh, let's see who I sold cards to recently because I have some more cards to sell, or who I bought cards recently from because I have some money I want to spend. So you want to be saving that. Daniel says, when looking for a brand new card, what's most important? Can you view all your details from just a photo? Also, do you ever negotiate once you found something you really like? So when you're looking for a brand new card, what's most important? So a brand new card, what's most important is this. So let's go back to market movers here. So let me give you a nice little example here. Let's see. What's a new card? Is this on market movers yet? XRC Jaden, or let's do Caleb Williams. All right, this is a brand new card. I don't know if this is gonna be on here yet. Caleb Williams. Nope, it's not. Let's find someone else. Let's do a Brandon Miller. Brandon Miller, silver prism. I'll get better at typing this on this thing, I promise. Let's take a raw Brandon Miller silver. Let's do 365 days. This card came out. So check this out, right? This is a brand new card. So this card came out right around here somewhere. And you could see how high it was, right? A raw Brandon Miller silver was like, I don't know why the first few sales were so low, but you can see how high it is. Then every single card, when they're brand new, after a few weeks, comes crashing down after a few weeks to a month. And then you want to buy it like right here. Well, it flatlines, because so you don't get caught up in here, right? You don't want to buy it here and then boop, right? It comes all the way down and then you're fucked, right? So don't do that. Wait till it flatlines. And then going back to what I was saying before, right? It's all about once it flatlines and you know you're getting it at a good deal, or you're getting it at a value where you know it's not going to bottom out. You know, the corners, the edges, the centering, the surface is what you're looking at. And it's an edge. At the end of the day, it's a good educated guess. You know, you could send in a card that looks perfect, gets a 9. You could send in a card that is not so good, gets a 10. I've seen it happen. The card I made the most amount of money on this year, I made like 20 grand on a Shohei Ohtani. I thought I had no chance to 10. The edges were messed up and it 10'd. So hopefully that answers your question. And do you negotiate once you've found something you really like? Yeah, hell yeah. Hell yeah, I negotiate. Why would you not think about it? Negotiating is risk-free. You don't lose any money. You lose a little bit of time negotiating, but it could save you a lot of money. You don't know where someone's at, right? If a card's worth $500, you don't know if they'll come down to $250. They might come down to $300. They might tell you to fuck off. Who knows? But it's worth negotiating, right? That's just, there's no risk. Someone asked when to hold versus when to flip. All right. This is good stuff. All right. Let's say it's going back to this example I was using before, right? You buy for 100. Actually, let's do a better example here. All right. Oh, whoops. All right. Let me paint you a picture right here, right? Let's say today's date, this is not today's date. October 1st, you buy a card for $100, right? You buy a baseball card. Okay? And then, so this is October 1st. December 1st, right? This card comes back as a PSA 10. And now this PSA 10 is worth $250. Congratulations. You have two options. Let's say you could predict the future. Let's say it's December 1st right now, and you could predict the future. And you could either so you have two options, right? Option A, sell today for $230, and then option B, right, is sell and let's say February for $3. Oh, whoops, that's messy. I'm still getting used to this iPad. Sell in February for $320. Let's pretend this card's going to go up that much in value, right? What does every single person do? They're like, oh, okay, I'm going to wait until February and sell for $320. That's common sense, right? No, wrong. Depending on your budget, like if you don't have 10, 20, 30 grand to blow on cards, then you are actually costing yourself money by holding it. Because think about this, right? You can sell this card today for $230 and turn this $230 and repeat the same exact process and probably double that to $230 into $460 by February, right? So if you repeat this process again right here and you flip another card or flip a few more cards with that money, you could have $460 in February rather than $320. Which one's more money? Obviously, you know the answer. Now, if you have ample amounts of money to spend, then just hold it because it's okay. But if it's affecting your purchasing power, the answer is to actually repeat the same exact process because you're costing yourself money by using this example and holding it. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's see. All right, so that's it for the sports card stuff. Some other stuff I wanted to go over. So this is something my students ask me, like a decent amount, and I think it's important. So I'm not an advocate of saving money. Okay? Not an advocate of saving money. Money to me is a tool to make more money to help out the others around you. That's the best way to use money, in my opinion. Dana White says money is a tool to have fun, but he also has billions of dollars, so can't be like him. But when you're broke or you're on your come up, saving money gives you a runway to look further out. Okay, so let me give you an example. So let's say you're a spender. Let's say your objective is to, work for yourself, own a business, etc. And if you have, $3,000 in the bank, It's going to be very hard for you to invest yourself. It's going to be very hard for you to take some time off of work. It's going to be very hard for you to buy a program or pay for a mentor or whatever. If you have $30,000 in the bank, it gives you a much longer runway. Alex Hermosi, I got this from Alex Hermosi. That's why I'm bringing it up. He saved up like $50,000 before he started his own gym, and he knew that $50,000 in cash, his monthly expenses were about $1,500 a month. So even if he completely screwed up, that cash would let him, survive him like 2 years or whatever the number is. So when you're on your come up, you should live as cheap as possible and save every single penny, because it gives you the opportunity to take that risk, to take that jump, to start your own business, to whatever. Buy cards, right? If you have $3,000 in the bank, it's very stressful. If you have 30 grand in the bank, not as stressful. If you have 100 grand in the bank, it's even less stressful, right? And the only way to get there, especially when you have a job, is just save. And the way to save money is work more, right? Work more. So, because when you're not working, guess what you're tempted to do? You're tempted to save money or spend money. And on top of that, I'd like to say people, right? Let me draw this out, right? There's something in this world, good credit or bad credit versus good credit, or good debt, I should say. So, right, we have bad debt versus good debt. What do 99% of Americans do? And I see people who are like scared to use credit cards because bad debt is what? A car, a vacation, right? Stupid things, a fancy backyard, right? I'm sure a lot of you guys have spent a lot of money on that. A fancy bathroom or kitchen, right? This is what's called bad debt. Why is this bad debt? This is bad debt because guess what? This money is never coming back to you. The only thing I would say is the only thing you can't, really say is bad debt is vacations, because, right, this creates experiences, and that's why you want to make money in the first place. But this is what people use their credit cards for. And this is bad because this is just stuff you have to pay off that's never going to return. Good debt, right, would be investing in skills, mentors, programs, assets, cards, right? That's an asset, saying this is the same thing. Why? Because this is one step back, right? You go in debt now to make much more money in the future, right? Just to give you an example, right? If you buy a program, let's say it's a real estate program, and it costs you $5,000. Most people are like, holy shit, well, like, that's a lot of money. Like, you could buy a new car with that, right? That's how the average American thinks, who is not savvy with money. But what people don't understand is this is an investment now to start generating you, let's say $3,000 a month in profit, right? So like this is good debt, right? Good debt, bad debt, right? So that's what you should use your credit cards for. And so many people just don't. Like, when I was first buying and selling sports cards, I didn't have all the money. I had a few $1,000s saved up. And I'm not saying over leverage yourself like I used to, but I would have $1,000 in the bank and $5,000 to my name total, but I'd have $20,000 in outstanding credit from cards. But guess what that was? That was good debt, because these were assets that were going to produce me more than the debt, right? Good debt versus bad debt. Simple concept, but a lot of people do it wrong. Some other stuff that I think is helpful that kind of happened to me this week. So I think that, this is a good thing. This is a good one. So hold on, let me take a sip here. All right, so back to dating life for a second. So I was talking to this girl, right, who cut things off with me. And she was like med school resident, very busy. She was honestly, didn't seem like her life is all too good at the moment. And she cut things off with me. Or so I thought. It's kind of complicated. But anyways, I was telling my friend about it. And she was like, and I told her like, hey, like, I wonder what I could have done better. Maybe I could have been a better communicator. I could have been better at this and better at that. And she was like, damn, Eric, why are you so hard on yourself? And I said to her, what do you mean? She's like, you're just blaming yourself for everything. And that's because something that business has taught me that's very valuable, that's helpful in life, is you don't get anything from blaming other people. You get nothing. Like literally nothing. So like this girl, for example, I was talking to, maybe 80% of it was her job and her life, or she's talking to another guy or whatever, right? But by me just saying, oh, screw her, right? That's, I didn't do anything wrong. That was all her fault. You get nothing from that, right? Instead, what I like to do is look in the mirror and say, okay, like, who knows? Was it her? Was it me? But I get nothing from blaming her. So what did I do wrong? I look back and maybe I wasn't a good communicator. Maybe I said something wrong. Maybe I was just too much and too intense, because I am a pretty intense person. So something that's helpful in life. And what I said to my friend is, actually, that is not being hard on myself. Sure, it is in the short term, but in the long term, hopefully this makes sense. If you have the right mindset, you'll know that by being hard on yourself in the short term, you're going to get much more in the long term. So for example, like a business example, by blaming yourself for every single thing that goes wrong in your business, like if I have an employee that says something wrong to a student, and maybe it was my employee's fault, but I'm going to take the blame myself, because I get nothing from blaming my employee. I'm going to tell him not to do it again, but maybe my standard operating procedures were wrong. Maybe I didn't effectively tell him how to communicate. And it just makes me a better person in the long run. And with that mindset, you're going to make much more money. You're going to live a much better life. And you're going to be a person that people respect much more. That's what I could tell you. So that's a good little life hack. And I'll leave it off with this, some football stuff here. First off, how bad are the Jets? On a scale of 1 to terrible, how bad are the Jets? Oh my goodness. You have all these stars and they had no timeouts going to the second quarter against the Patriots. What the fuck? And some other stuff that I thought was crazy was, so the Bears-Commanders game, that was crazy at the end, that Hail Mary. The Commanders deserved to win, and I had the Commanders, so I'm not just saying that because I had the money on them. But that was just a terrible coaching job. Did you see before the Bears scored their last touchdown, they were on the goal line. They ran a QB draw with Caleb Williams that didn't work. They ran another one that didn't work. They went for 2 yards. Then on 4th and goal, they were running the ball well. They gave a halfback dive to their backup guard or tackle, and he fumbled it. That was just terrible, terrible coaching job. And yeah, it's just ugh. And it goes back to what I always say, right? There's like good coaches and bad coaches, and good coaches maybe would make Caleb Williams look even better, but bad coaches do things like that and call 2 QB draws on the goal line and screw players up. That's all I got. I think that's all I got for today. But that was good. That was good questions. I like this iPad. I like this new iPad. I think it's very helpful. But if you enjoyed this stuff, feel free to leave a comment. I try to reply to the comments as much as possible in these podcasts. I do them twice a week. And if you're watching this on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. If you enjoyed this podcast, I'll put a link to another video, either another podcast or sports cards that I think you'll enjoy as well. But like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.